or I'm sorry, the reason why people have the hate that they have for it. A, they discovered that Sony was involved in the development of this game. I feel like that was a big issue. Everyone was hyped for this game. Everybody wanted to what do you call it? The renaissance of a resurgence of Dead Space. And then when they found out that the actual developers for Dead Space was making their own IP without the shackles of EA or anyone else, everyone was on board. They didn't show anything bad either about Callisto Protocol when we did see the gameplay. It looked really good. Not just graphically, but gameplay wise, it looked very similar to Dead Space. And then all of a sudden, they said that 150 developers for Sony came out of nowhere and helped them out. I think they were running like 50 people, right? That was a problem. After that nonsense, everybody went straight on like defense mode and was like, I'll wait. And I was like, that's strange. Now all of a sudden you want to wait for the game to be played? Then all of a sudden the reviews, like, it's weird. If you're in the gaming space, and if you're not a gamer, this is what happens when you're in the gaming space, right? People tend to do this weird thing where Metacritic matters until it doesn't, right? People were using Metacritic as a rubric to see if they were going to pick up the game or not. But then if it's an established IP, then they don't want to use Metacritic, which is kind of weird. They'll say that they're hating on the game. Like, for instance, God of War, people had a problem with God of War. They wanted it to be higher. The same thing with Forbidden West. I don't believe it deserved the 88. It should be better than this. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay. But now you have a new IP and there's a problem with it. Now you guys are taking that. It's a 76 is not a bad score either. It's like almost by extension, because Sony is attached to it in some kind of way. People are expecting this game to be of like triple A shit. And to be honest with you, the visuals are triple A shit, right? It's like, because of the way the graphics looked on all platforms, the cross-gen narrative was thrown out the window. Because it looked good on all platforms. Now people that like Microsoft, they couldn't even use it. You know, they had a fucking problem with it. So that was a problem. And then you have Sony developers working on the game, and that's doubly a problem. And then you have Dead Space coming out next year, and then that's a fucking problem, because the actual Dead Space is coming out here. Now, these developers are at a crossroads, right? It's at a crossroads, because if it was too much like Dead Space, then it would be a problem. All that the game is a reskin Dead Space. If it departs from Dead Space, which this game did, it has enough Dead Space-ness for people that are fans of Dead Space to fuck with. But it also has its own niche, and it's not a psychological horror. It's more like an action survival horror game. Heavy emphasis on action. And people don't like new things, apparently, but then they don't like it, and then they do like it. They have a pretty unique melee system, which isn't supposed to be like really heavy, just enough to kind of challenge you. You know what I mean? And people have a problem with that. People have a problem with difficult games until it's a Souls game, apparently, as well. People were saying that this game was difficult, and I think it's not difficult, it's just different. And they don't want to give it the props. You have a lot more mobility in this game as a survival horror game than a lot of other games. Such as, well, I would say that the only one that's kind of like horror would be the Dying Light. So Dying Light is a situation where you have a lot of mobility, but then also you get wrecked as well too. So it's in the middle between that. It's not really Resident Evil. You're not suplexing things. You got a lot of mobility. You're pretty strong. And I feel like people are taking this game as it's like it's an action game at this point in time. But you can get wrecked easily if you don't know what you're doing. And I feel like the people are trying to play the game, a game that it's not. And as much as people say that they love, difference and new ideas, they really don't. They really don't. And one could argue, okay, well, it's not a new idea. You have to have a good idea, right? If you want it to land. But what if it is a good idea? You know what I mean? What if it's a good idea and you just don't know how to play it? Horizon Forbidden West dealt with that as well. The Horizon Forbidden West is a range combat RPG, and people had a problem with that. They wanted it to be a melee game. And because it wasn't what they wanted, they didn't like it. They crucified the game. They said it was boring because they didn't know how to play it.